Hi, the reading today is from Luke 13, starting at verse 10. One Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in a synagogue. A woman there had an evil spirit that made her sick for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, he called out to her, "Woman, you are free from your sickness." He placed his hands on her, and at once she straightened herself up and praised God. The official of the synagogue was angry that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath, so he spoke up and said to the people, "There are 6 days in which we should work, so come during those days and be healed, but not on the Sabbath." The Lord answered him, "You hypocrites, any one of you would untie your bullock or your donkey from the stall and take it out to give it water on the Sabbath. Now here is this descendant of Abraham, whom Satan has kept in bonds for 18 years. Should she not be released on the Sabbath?" His answer made his enemies ashamed of themselves, while the people rejoiced over all the wonderful things that he did.
Those of us who were in worship at Zion Hill on the 31st of July remember little Eva. Eva was being baptized that day. She's 2 years of age. She was running around the church. She was behind the communion table, in front of the communion table. She was everywhere. And at one point, Reverend Robin leaned forward and blew out the Christ candle. She explained to us that it was to keep Eva safe, so that Eva could keep exploring. What a special moment to think back on. I guess most of us have been familiar with a church or a group of people where it has felt easier to say, "You fit in here. You do it the way we do it." Sometimes it's easier for groups to say no than it is for them to say yes. Not on that day, not with Eva. The gospel text which Barbara read to us reminded me of that day with Eva, that a child could run around the church and explore, that the gathering is for the wholeness of us all, and for us all to be present in the wholeness of God. In the gospel, it's quite important to look at space, where people are, who's in a group, who's on the edges. Where does Jesus put himself? So Jesus is the teacher. He's not absorbed with his own teaching, is he, in this story? He calls out the woman. He addresses her. He sees her for who she is. And at his healing touch, she straightens herself. Did you notice that? She straightens herself. And so how might we, in the gathering that is the body of Christ, straighten ourselves? Is that why we come into the gathering? To receive healing? To claim healing? Do we come into the gathering to be a healing to others? She straightens herself and at once praises God. Is that us when we come into the body of Christ? And are we in the group, in the body, which encourages us to say yes? I hope so. Sometimes we're in a group and we realize that the answer that people want to give is one day, in the future, not now. Have you noticed the controversy going on over the chocolate wrappers? A well-known New Zealand chocolate brand has placed Te Reo Māori on some of its chocolate wrappers ahead of Māori Language Week. Some people have protested about that and have said, quote, "It's a step too far." A step too far. A step too far what? Into one of the languages of this nation? A step too far what? Into recognizing a foundational culture of this country, of this whenua? Sometimes people want to tell us that in the future will be the time for social change. Isn't the gospel calling us to say, actually, the time for change is right now? The Sabbath is a day for healing, just as much as any other day. Don't delay. Now is when we are alive. I think that's what the gospel's saying. When we read this text, when we hear it, we do so with 21st century eyes and 21st century ears. This text we can respond to in a certain way, deciding to push away stereotypes around gender. Men have to heal women. We can push away stereotypes around disabled people, that there's something wrong with some people because of how they present, how their bodies are shaped. I want to read you a quotation. Scholar and disabilities writer Amy Kenny writes, "To suggest that I am anything less than sanctified and redeemed is to suppress the image of God in my disabled body and to limit how God is already at work through my life." Who wants to limit God? Surely that's not why we're in the body of Christ. We don't want to limit God. Let the text help us to push away stereotypes. Let us stand tall, as it were, in ourselves, in our inner being, and claim our healing. And let's get out of the way of other people as they stand tall, however their bodies are formed. Let them stand tall in and of themselves to claim their healing. This week I've had some wonderful conversations, and one of them was at Thursday group with a person called Emma. Emma made me a birthday card and gave it to me and took our photo. It felt very special indeed to be recognised by Emma in this way. The gospel text is all about being recognised. Whom are we recognising? Are we willing to claim that we are recognised by Jesus in the love of God? Will we open the path to get out of the way of the Spirit operating in and through a group? There are so many ways that this community does this. Are there more just waiting to be revealed to us? Because we are the body of Christ, prepared to be open to unexpected healing moments. We can be weighed down, wondering whether we have the right skills to do what God is calling us to. We can be thinking, gosh, there are so many jobs to be done, and I'm a bit tired, and all of that. At other times, we're the resurgent people who remember our calling and that God will equip us with what we're requiring to be who we are called to be. All of that is in the text, I believe. All of that is sparked in the text today. Do we come with the energy that helps us lift up and lift others up? This week, the Presbyterian Church is asking us to pray for children, and children remind us of vulnerability, of innocence, of trust, of kindness, of the instant response. Please add children to your prayers this week. The children in our families, the children in our circle, the kids we don't know, children we see on television, the children whose stories we hear from the agencies that are supporting kids around the world. There are many opportunities to bring children into our prayers. Next Sunday, the 28th, we'll gather up some of those prayers in our service. The church asks us to pray for children from the 21st until the 27th. We'll be a bit different. We'll do it all week in our homes, and then on the 28th we'll be together in church and we will bring our prayers together. So please remember children. Remember the children around you. Remember the children distant from you. And let's remember the children in ourselves. Let's remember the kids within, the child that each of us still is, along with being the person who might have felt, borne down for 18 years. We're each of those, and we can straighten up. To conclude, and thank you for listening. To conclude, I'm going to light the candle that we've been using when we've said words such as peace and gratitude. I'm going to light it, and I'll just let it flicker for a bit so that you can have some quiet time and maybe think about children. God bless you.